Hello everyone. We have been discussing different ways in which one can hedge the portfolio. So, we also discussed that there are two types of hedging strategies. First is hedge and forget, that is, at the beginning you do some transactions for hedging and then you don't worry about what happens in the market. And second was dynamic hedging, where you continuously monitor the position of the market and then go on continuously adjusting your portfolio. Okay, so actually there is one more way in which hedging can be categorized into two types. So let me start with an example. Suppose a financial institution has sold 1 lakh call option. Okay, financial institution has sold 1 lakh call options, European call options, let's say, on some non-dividend paying stock. And let us say the price of each call option was 3 rupees. Okay, so at time 0 this institution has received 3 lakh rupees from these call options. And let me list the other values. Suppose S0 is 49, the asset price at time 0, strike price is say 50, risk-free rate of interest is say 5% per annum, volatility is say 0.2 per annum, and the time to expiry is suppose 20 weeks. Okay, and mu for the stock is suppose 0.13. Now there are two possibilities. At time capital T, ST can be less than K and ST can be greater than K. If ST is less than K, then we don't need to worry about anything. Okay, because if the market price is less than the strike price, the other party is not going to exercise the call options. So no transaction is going to happen at time capital T. Correct? So in this scenario, no transaction would happen at capital T. Whereas if ST is greater than K, then the other party is going to demand us 1000 as shares, right? Sorry, 1 lakh shares. Okay, so if ST is greater than K, then 1 lakh shares would be transacted. Now if suppose you are in this financial institution, what should be your strategy? Should you buy 1 lakh shares today itself because you may need those later, or should you wait till time T and then buy 1 lakh shares at that time point only if they are needed? So what is strategy 1? Strategy 1 says do not do anything right now. So this is known as naked position, because you are not doing anything now means you have an exposure to the risk. Okay, so do not do any transaction at time 0. At T, at time capital T, depending on the situation, you can buy the shares or you don't have to buy. At time T, depending on the situation, shares may be bought. Okay, so this is known as having naked position, because you are not covering your risk. Okay, you have an exposure to risk. Why exposure to risk? Because you at time T you are going to need shares only if ST is greater than K, right? And current share price is slightly smaller than K. Okay, so you don't know, so this is K, this is current share price, and ST is going to be somewhere here. So at that time point, if you buy at that price and if you sell at this price, because you will have to sell at this price, then you are going to suffer loss. this much loss for each share and you have 1 lakh shares. So you have a huge risk because ST can be pretty larger than K. Okay, whereas, so in that sense, this is a naked position because you are exposed to a lot of risk. Okay, and strategy 2 is known as covered position. So what do you do in strategy 2? You buy 1 lakh shares today itself. Okay, so you buy 1 lakh shares today itself, that is at time 0. Now here your risk is covered because if ST is greater than K, then you already have the shares with you and you have bought them at current price S0, which is slightly lower than K. So fine, you still get, I mean, you at least don't face much loss. Okay. However, if you are unfortunate and if ST turns out to be larger than, if you are unfortunate and if ST drops below K, so currently you brought at S0 and if ST drops say somewhere here, then again you are facing a loss because you bought at this price and you're in the market, you have to sell at this, so you'll be again facing a loss. So even the covered position is not risk free. Okay, so what to do? So in either case there is a risk of loss. So in such a situation, people resort to what is known as stop loss strategy. Okay, stop loss strategy is like dynamic hedging. So in dynamic hedging, what did we say? We said that we continuously monitor the situation in the market and looking at that situation, we decide our strategy. So what do we do in stop loss strategy? So we can keep watch on ST and if we feel that okay, the option is likely to be exercised, then you buy shares. But then things may change again and you may feel that the option is not likely to be exercised, then you sell the shares again. Okay, so let me draw a small graph. Okay, so this is suppose time and we are plotting movement of the share price with respect to time. Okay, and so this is suppose K. Okay, suppose. So we know that whenever, so on this axis we are plotting share price, right? So we know that whenever ST is greater than K, then the option will be exercised. Whenever ST is less than K, then the option won't be exercised. So we keep a watch. When ST becomes greater than K, then we buy the options. When ST becomes less than K, again like here, we sell the options. Of course, the share price movements are continuous, so we can't continuously buy and sell. So in such a scenario, what we can have is we can have some bands here. Okay, something like K plus epsilon and K minus epsilon. So whenever the share price goes beyond K plus epsilon, at that time you buy the shares. Then whenever it drops below K minus epsilon, you sell the shares because okay, they are not likely to be needed. Okay, so this is known as stop loss strategy. So you go on changing your position. So sometimes you hold the shares, but when you feel that okay, they may no longer be needed, then you sell them. Okay, so this is part of dynamic hedging. Now for carrying out dynamic hedging, one thing that we watched here is ST. Okay, but there are other factors which people would like to observe and then carry out hedging to adjust those factors. So they are also actually known as say parameters of a portfolio. So when you have some portfolio and you need to decide what is the health of that portfolio, health in the sense how much sensitivity is to the market changes and whether it is riskless or not, etc. So all these things, if you want to summarize by a few numbers, then you use what are known as Greek letters. Okay, so these Greek letters, so we are going to study 5 Greek letters. So these 5 parameters or 5 quantities about a portfolio can tell us many things. Okay, So let me first list these 5 quantities. The first one of them is delta. It is actually daba f by daba s. So change in the value of any derivative or portfolio with respect to change in the share price. Then you have theta. Theta is delta f by delta t. So change in value of derivative or portfolio with respect to time. Then we have rho. So rho is daba f by daba r. So change in the value of the derivative or portfolio with respect to risk-free rate of interest, change in risk-free rate of interest. Then we have vega. So vega is daba f by daba sigma. So this is change in value with respect to change in sigma volatility. And we have gamma. Gamma is actually second derivative, daba 2f by daba s square, or we can write it as daba delta upon daba s. Okay. So gamma is actually change in delta with respect to change in share price. Okay. So these 5 Greek letters can tell us many things about the portfolio, and these Greek letters are used quite commonly for hedging. So how do we use those for hedging? See, delta denotes change in the worth of the derivative or portfolio with respect to change in S. So if I somehow manage to make delta equal to 0, what would it mean? If delta becomes 0, then change in the share price would cause no change in the derivative price or the portfolio worth. So that would mean that my portfolio has become riskless, because change in the share price is not affecting me anymore. Okay, so this is one hedging strategy, making delta equal to 0, that eliminates the risk. So this is known as delta hedging. Okay, similarly you may want to do this, means vega as 0, means if volatility changes in the market, so if market becomes say more sensitive, more volatile, then of course my portfolio is also going to be more sensitive. But if we want our portfolio worth to be unaffected with respect to changes in the volatility, then we can do vega hedging. Okay, and similarly we can do gamma hedging also. So gamma hedging would mean that again, if the share price changes, then delta doesn't change. So delta doesn't change means if you have already a delta neutral portfolio means a portfolio is delta is 0, then even then when the share price changes, delta might change again and delta may go away from 0. So you may have to do delta hedging again. But if gamma is 0, then that would mean that change in share price does not change delta. Okay, are you getting what I'm trying to say? If gamma is 0, that would mean that the change in share price does not change delta. So even if share price changes, the delta may remain 0 if we have set it to be 0, and that would be good because we won't have to do any readjustment to get the hedged portfolio or delta neutral portfolio. Okay, hence people do gamma hedging also. Generally this rho and theta are not used for hedging. Theta is not used for hedging because it is like time decay. So we know that movement in time is known. There is no uncertainty there. Okay, so insurance or hedging is done only when there is uncertainty. So theta hedging is generally not done, and rho hedging is also comparatively rare. So we would focus mainly on these 3 types of hedging: delta hedging, vega hedging and gamma hedging. Okay. How are these Greek letters related to each other? So we can actually use Taylor series expansion. So let pi denote the worth of a portfolio. Then we know that worth of a portfolio is function of all these parameters, right? So delta pi could be written as daba f by daba s delta s, then plus daba f by daba t delta t, plus dabba f by dabba r delta r plus dabba f by dabba sigma delta sigma. These are first derivatives plus half delta s whole square dabba 2f by dabba s square plus other second derivatives, etc. Okay, so generally we ignore other things because change in time, if you are considering the small time interval, then change in time would be very small, so delta t square can be ignored. Interest rate and volatility would also generally change slowly, so delta r square and delta sigma square could also be ignored. Okay, so this is approximately equal to, after ignoring all those things, delta dabba f by dabba s is now our Greek letter delta. So delta times delta s, this delta s is simply change in s, plus theta times delta t plus rho times delta r plus vega times delta sigma plus half delta s whole square times gamma. Okay, so this equation gives us relationship between all these 5 Greek letters. Okay, now we will start with delta hedging. So for carrying out delta hedging, we first need to know value of delta for different derivatives or instruments. Now, what would be delta for a share? Delta for a share would be simply dabba s by dabba s, because worth of a share is s, so it would always be 1. Okay, delta for a share would always be 1. Now what would be delta for an a European call option? So we know Black-Scholes price of a European call option is ST into phi of D1T minus K e raised to minus R T minus T phi D2T. I know in the formula we must have gotten K e raised to minus R capital T only, but now we are not talking about just price at time point 0, we are talking about any intermediate time point t. So this would be the price. So the remaining period is t minus t. Okay, so delta, if I want to compute, I have to differentiate this with respect to s. So this involves s, but at the same time d1 and d2 also involve s. Okay, so we will need to worry about those derivatives also. So I am not going to do the derivation here. It's pretty straightforward. You are just differentiating. So I will write down the final answer. So dabba c by dabba s turns out to be actually phi of d1 only. Okay. You may feel that, okay, if I had ignored the fact that d1 d2 contain s, then also I would get the exactly the same answer. But this is a coincidence. Okay, just because you got same answer doesn't mean you're doing it correctly. So this please remember that I am not simply taking phi d1 from here. D1 d2 both involve s, so we have to differentiate those also, and then finally simplifying and cancelling out terms leads to this expression that delta for a call option is phi of d1. And we can find similarly delta for put option. Delta for put option turns out to be phi of d1 minus 1. Okay, so it means that if you know delta for call option and if you have a put option with the same strike price, etc., then you can easily see what is delta for that put option. Okay, another interesting point to be noted here is we know phi is CDF of standard normal distribution, right? So this means that this is always greater than 0. Delta for a call option is always positive, and here I have phi of d1 minus 1. Since phi is CDF, it is always between 0 and 1, so this is always negative. So what does it mean? It means that if you keep k, t, sigma, r, all these things constant, and if you increase s, then call option price increases because delta is positive, and put option price decreases because delta for put option is negative. Is it expected think. See, we are keeping strike price same, we are keeping expiry time same, and we are increasing the current share price. So call option would become more valuable. Why? Because even though current share price is slightly higher, I am still getting an option to buy at the same strike price which was earlier. Okay, so call option would become worth more, whereas in put option we are getting money. So if the current price increases, we would ideally want to get more money in future also, but strike price is remaining same, so we are not getting more money just because the current price is increased. Hence that put option becomes worth less than what it already was. Okay, so as share price increases, call price decreases, call price also increases and put price decreases. So these are delta values for call and put options. Let me give you an example where delta hedging is carried out. Okay, we can use the same data that with which we started this class. So we have S naught. So there is an example for delta hedging. So we have S naught equal to 49, K equal to 50, R equal to 0.05, sigma equal to 0.2, T equal to 20 weeks. 20 weeks we can convert into years, so it turns out to be something like 0.3846 years. Okay, assuming that there are 52 weeks in a year. Now what we do for delta hedging is, we don't go for covered or naked position. So we don't buy all 1 lakh shares at once, or we don't wait for time t to occur to buy shares. So we try to keep our portfolio delta neutral. That is a good hedging strategy. So we try to keep our portfolio delta neutral means we try to make delta of our portfolio as 0. So initially we make some adjustment, we make delta at 0, then we keep watching, and if we feel that okay, delta has changed, then we again do some transaction to make it 0 and so on. Okay, so as I said, this is part of dynamic hedging. So initially, what is the delta of the portfolio? So what I have initially is only 1 lakh call options, and that too short position in them because we have sold those call options. Correct? So first we compute delta of single call option. Now we know the formula is phi of D1. D1 can be computed using all these things. So it turns out to be phi of 0.0542. D1 I think turns out to be this. You can verify the calculations. So phi of D1 would be 0.522. Okay. So delta of a single call option is 0.522, and we have short position in 1 lakh call options. So delta of the portfolio would be minus 0.522. Why minus? Because we have a short position into 1 lakh. So this turns out to be minus 52,200. Okay, delta of the portfolio turns out to be minus 52,200. Now as we said, we will make portfolio delta neutral. Why? Because if a portfolio is delta neutral, that would mean that no change occurs in the worth of the portfolio even if the share price changes. So my portfolio becomes riskless, at least for that duration for which delta is 0. Now to make delta 0, what do we need? We need to add 52,200 from somewhere. Then delta would become 0. Okay. And we know that for a share, delta is 1. We have derived it. So if we buy 52,200 shares, then delta of the portfolio would be delta of the call options plus delta of the shares. Delta of the call option is minus 52,200, and now delta of the shares, because we have bought them, is plus 52200. So we get delta to be 0. Okay. So delta hedging strategy says that buy 52,200 shares at time 0. Okay, so don't buy complete 1 lakh, but at the same time don't stay without buying anything. Buy 52,200 shares. So this is like an intermediate strategy. Got it? Now, the delta of the portfolio does not remain constant because this delta is based on D1. D1 involves share price, time, time remaining, so T minus T, then R, sigma, etc. All these quantities keep on changing. As a result, delta also keeps on changing and we need to make frequent adjustments. So let us assume that we are going to make adjustments at the end of 1 week. Okay, at the end of 1 week. So what we would do at the end of 1 week, let us calculate delta. Okay, by the way, one small point here. When we say buy 52,200 shares, where do we have money for that? Because buying a share is expensive. So we need, buy means we are buying at the current rate, that is S naught. So we need 2557800 rupees. So this much money if I need to take loan from the bank. Okay, out of this 3 lakh can be spent from the call option price that we have received, but for the remaining amount we'll need to take a loan from the bank. Okay, so suppose we have taken loan from the bank. At the end of 1 week, what happens? So we are not going to monitor like completely continuously, we will monitor weekly. At the end of 1 week, suppose the share price changes. So share price suppose becomes 48.12 and let us assume everything else remains same. So sigma R remains same. But then because share price has changed, derivative would change, and of course time remaining has also changed. Time remaining is now 19 weeks instead of 1 week time to expiry. So this changes D1 and D1 turns out to be I think 0.3854. Okay, or 3654. Perhaps 3654. You can check the calculations. And as a result, phi of D1 becomes 0.458. Okay. So now delta of individual call option is 0.458 instead of 0.522. So what would happen to the delta of entire portfolio? Delta of my entire portfolio is again delta of call options plus delta of shares. Delta of call option is now minus 45800 because 0.458 into 1 lakh with a minus sign, plus I still have 52,200 shares, so that still remains. So this becomes 6400, right? So now my portfolio is no longer delta neutral. Its delta is this. So what should I do? I should try to make delta 0 again. So how do I reduce this to 0? I can sell some shares. So how many shares? Sell 6400 shares. Every share has delta equal to 1. As a result, now your delta of the portfolio would again become 0. Because this 6400 minus 6400. Okay. And of course you get some money by selling these shares. So you repay some amount to the bank and so on. Okay. So we have made the portfolio delta neutral again. This process goes on. So this happened at the end of 1 week. At the end of 2 weeks, you'll have to again readjust. At the end of 3 weeks, you'll have to again readjust. And it can be shown that in such a strategy, generally you don't have too much loss. So this works as a hedging. So at time capital T, you don't face much loss. You would actually have all the shares that you need. Okay, and if you don't need the shares, then you won't have the shares. Okay. Hull has given, I think, an entire table for calculations from 0th week to 20th week. You can maybe look into that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. One point. Intuitively, is it logical? Okay. See, initially we said that there are two strategies. One is buy all 1 lakh shares today. Second is don't do anything. So at time point 0, this approach told us to buy 52,200 shares. So it was intermediate, and it makes sense because intermediate approach is more reasonable. But now after 1 week it is saying sell 6,400 shares. So is selling intuitively justified here? Try to think. See, what has happened in the market? Share prices have gone down. So if share prices have gone down, then it is less likely that the option would be exercised, and hence it is less likely that you will need the shares. Hence you have been advised to sell some shares. Okay. So intuitively also it makes sense. So you sell some shares when the share prices go, and hence the delta goes down. Whereas if the share price and hence delta go up, then you buy some shares because you are going to need those shares then at the end of time period T. Okay. So this is how you carry out delta hedging of a portfolio. Now, how do you calculate delta of a portfolio? We calculated delta for a call option, delta for a put option, and delta for a share. But how do you calculate delta of an entire portfolio? So basically, delta of a portfolio would be weighted average of individual deltas. Okay, it would be weighted average of individual deltas. And weights would of course be proportional to number of units. Okay, so delta of a portfolio would be sum over omega I delta I going from 1 to n, if portfolio consists of n items or n types of instruments, and omega I is number of units of ith instruments in the portfolio. Instrument, by instrument I mean derivatives. Number of units of ith instrument. Okay, so this is a weighted average. So let me give a small example. So in fact we did this up in this earlier example. So suppose you have a long position. So this is an example. Long position in 1 lakh call options with delta for call option as 0.533 per option. Then you have say short position in 2 lakh call options with delta equal to say 0.468 per option. And suppose you have short position in 50,000 put options with delta equal to minus 0.508 per option. Okay, so what would be delta of the total portfolio? You can now see how the weighted mean is to be calculated. Okay, so delta of the total portfolio would be 0.533 into 1 lakh minus 0.468, why minus? Because it's a short position, into 2 lakh minus 0.508. Please don't forget this minus sign, it is coming from the option being put, into 50,000. So this turns out to be minus 14.900. Okay, so sorry, 14,900. So what does it mean? So if you want to delta hedge this portfolio, you will have to buy 14,900 shares. Okay, so this is how you compute delta hedging. This is how you compute delta of a portfolio, and then you try to make the portfolio delta neutral. Okay, let me stop here. Thank you.